of the Collective Social Networks, interviewing grassroots candidates. Today, we're here, with Salem for Congress. He's running, Pennsylvania's 2nd District. From his website, we have some great issues that are on the forefront. Medicare for All being a great one that doesn't get spoken about enough these days. A Green New Deal, which we'll be asking more about, a people's bailout in response to COVID-19, and racial justice. Thank you so much for being on here today. Before we get started, would you like to just tell the folks a little bit about yourself and why you're running in Pennsylvania?
Sure thing. So my name is Salem Snow. I am running in Pennsylvania's 2nd Congressional District, which is the poorest district in the state with an average income of around $20,000 a year or less. And I am a housing activist primarily. I've also done some other community work, worked with mutual aid initiatives, things of that nature. I come from a poor background, grew up very poor. Actually, my journey started in a rent-controlled apartment that was managed by a nonprofit, which was the whole reason my mother and I were able to, have any footing to begin with on our own. But yeah, that's just a little bit about myself.
You mentioned affordable housing and housing rights, racial justice, and it's the poorest district in Pennsylvania needing help with all these things. But you're also running and quite on the forefront of Medicare for All. I just wanted to know a little bit about, how you feel about still messaging on this, knowing that, it seems like establishment Democrats seem to want to shy away from it as much as possible.
Right. So I think that first and foremost, we've had a couple different versions of Medicare for All brought forward. We haven't really made what I would consider any significant progress on that. But also, I think it's important to go ahead and set that precedent because most landmark legislation that we've gotten passed didn't pass the first time. It often takes a couple times to really build public awareness, public pressure. So it's not one of those things where it's like, we tried this, it didn't work. It's an ongoing battle. And I actually agree that, it's not talked about enough, even though it is a prominent position among many progressive voters. It's something that is not getting enough attention from elected officials. We need to have elected officials in there screaming about it, because this is life-saving legislation that we're talking about that the people in our country desperately need. It's one of those things that's going to be a long journey, and not so much something that I view as being like a one and done.
Well, I appreciate you joining the cause and keeping it alive. Lastly, before we pitch to your website and how people can find you online and how they can help, you also mentioned here the Green New Deal. This aspect seems very specific to your district, but how does the Green New Deal, do you feel, fits into the needs of Pennsylvania 2nd?
So the first thing I want to clarify is that when I say a Green New Deal, I'm not specifically referring to, necessarily what the resolution AOC put forward, but rather a newer version of that includes more things. But basically, it needs to include things like housing, like having green housing, which, is, an intersectional issue. But this is particularly important in housing and in infrastructure in Pennsylvania because we have a notorious problem with things like lead, asbestos, things of that nature, just being found in houses in our schools. There was actually a teacher that ended up getting mesothelioma from this. So a Green New Deal that focused around green housing would be particularly useful for Pennsylvania and especially for our 2nd district.
Thank you. We'll be hoping to see more of that be talked about, on Capitol Hill. So, to wrap up a little bit, how can people find you online, and what can people do right now to help your cause?
So our website is salemforcongress.com. All of our other social media is Salem4 with the number 4 Congress. The biggest things that, activists can do to help our cause is, first, always donate. We're running a grassroots campaign. That means no special interest money. That means no corporate money. And that means we basically have to work 3 times as hard to get, a third of what corporate Democrats get. So, low dollar donations, grassroots donations are of the utmost importance. Other than that, just keeping up with us, boosting messaging. We're stronger as a progressive movement when we're all supporting each other and not making things about, individuals.
Awesome. And having said that, I hear that you're going to be at a candidate endorsement summit today. Do you want to plug that in really quick before we sign off?
Yeah, absolutely. So tonight I will be speaking as one of the endorsed candidates by Marianne Williamson. You can check us out at candidatesummit.com, and that is at 8 p.m. Eastern time tonight. So I'm looking forward to that and hope to see you all there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lynn, for being here with us. We'll be sure to share this short interview around social media so people can hear more about you, and we'll be looking out for your video from the summit. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. I've loved being on here.